The rise and fall of Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Edward Epstein was born on January 20th, 1953, in Brooklyn, New York, a bustling borough that has been home to millions of immigrant families chasing the American dream. His parents, Pauline Paula Stolofsky, 1918 to 2004, and Seymour George Epstein, 1916 to 1991, were a hard-working Jewish couple who had tied the knot in 1952, just before Jeffrey arrived. Paula devoted herself to raising the family and worked as a school aide, while Seymour earned his living as a groundskeeper and gardener for New York City's Department of Parks and Recreation. Jeffrey was the firstborn of two boys. He and his younger brother Mark spent their childhood in Sea Gate, a quiet, private gated community tucked away in Coney Island. Neighbors painted a picture of the Epsteins as modest, down-to-earth folks who kept a low profile and never caused a fuss. One childhood friend remembered Paula as a wonderful mother and homemaker, the kind of parent who made you feel at home the moment you walked through the door. Young Jeffrey attended local public schools, starting at public school and then moving on to Mark Twain Junior High School. Even back then, he had a knack for making money. He tutored his classmates and pocketed some cash on the side. Friends knew him as Epi, a sweet, generous kid who was a bit on the quiet and nerdy side. One female classmate later recalled, "He was just an average boy, very smart in math, slightly overweight, freckles, always smiling. Nothing about him screamed, future millionaire. He was simply another Brooklyn kid trying to make his mark." In 1967, Epstein attended the National Music Camp at the Interlochen Center for the Arts. Music was his first love. He'd been playing piano since age 5, and friends considered him genuinely talented. By 1969, he had already graduated from Lafayette High School at just 16 years old, having skipped 2 grades. Clearly, the kid was sharp as a tack. Later that year, Epstein enrolled in advanced math classes at Cooper Union. But by 1971, he'd switched gears and transferred to the Courant Institute of Mathematical Sciences at New York University. There, he studied mathematical physiology, a fancy term for using math to understand how the body works. But in June 1974, he dropped out without finishing his degree. Sometimes, as they say, it's not about the diploma, it's about what you do next. At 21, Epstein landed a teaching gig at the Dalton School, a prestigious private school on Manhattan's Upper East Side. In September 1974, he taught physics and mathematics to teenagers, which raised more than a few eyebrows since he had no teaching credentials whatsoever. Donald Barr, the headmaster until June 1974, was known for making unconventional hiring choices, though it's unclear if he directly hired Epstein. Either way, 3 months after Barr left, Epstein was in the classroom. Talk about falling into a sweet opportunity. But Epstein's time at Dalton wasn't exactly smooth sailing. According to former students, he behaved inappropriately around underage girls, showering them with attention and even showing up uninvited to student parties. Multiple witnesses recalled him flirting with female students, crossing the line in ways that made people uncomfortable. During his time at the school, Epstein got acquainted with Alan Greenberg, the big-shot CEO of Bear Stearns Investment Bank, whose children attended Dalton. Greenberg's daughter, Lynn Coppell, later mentioned that Epstein made quite an impression at a parent-teacher conference, cleverly persuading another parent to put in a good word for him with Greenberg. In June 1976, Dalton fired Epstein for poor performance. But here's where his luck kicked in. Greenberg offered him a position at Bear Stearns. One door slammed shut, but a much bigger one swung wide open. Epstein joined Bear Stearns in 1976 as a low-level junior assistant to a floor trader, basically starting at the bottom of the ladder. But he didn't stay there long. He quickly climbed the ranks, becoming an options trader in the special products division. His job? advising the bank's wealthiest clients on how to legally reduce their tax bills and protect their fortunes. James Kane, who later became the bank's CEO, praised Epstein's ability to handle high-net-worth clients and navigate complex financial products. The guy had a talent for making rich people richer. In 1980, Epstein became a limited partner, a significant promotion. But in 1981, things took a turn. He was asked to leave Bear Stearns for what he described in sworn testimony as a Reg D violation, essentially breaking securities regulations. Despite this professional stumble, Epstein maintained close ties with Kane and Greenberg and remained a client of Bear Stearns until the firm collapsed in 2008. In Wall Street terms, he may have left the building, but he definitely didn't leave the game. In August 1981, Epstein founded Intercontinental Assets Group, Incorporated, a company specializing in tracking down stolen money. Think of it as a financial detective agency for the ultra-rich. He branded himself as a high-level bounty hunter, the guy you call when millions vanish into thin air and you need someone who knows how to follow the money trail. Epstein told friends he worked for governments, billionaires, and even some clients who had themselves embezzled funds. Essentially, he played both sides of the fence. One of his prominent clients was Spanish actress and heiress Ana Obregón. In 1982, when her father lost millions in the collapse of Drysdale government securities, a massive fraud, Epstein successfully recovered the money. Throughout the mid-1980s, Epstein became a jet-setter, traveling constantly between the United States, Europe, and the Middle East. In London, he met Stephen Hoffenberg, who was introduced through Douglas Leese and former U.S. Attorney General John Mitchell. Hoffenberg later claimed in 2020 that he was the one who introduced Epstein to Robert Maxwell, a powerful British media mogul. Here's where things get even more mysterious. During the 1980s, Epstein possessed an Austrian passport with his photo but a fake name, listing Saudi Arabia as his residence. He also told some people he worked as a CIA intelligence agent, though this was never confirmed. Among his clients was Saudi businessman Adnan Khashoggi, notorious for his involvement in the Iran-Contra affair. Epstein was moving in circles where power and money went hand in hand, and where secrets were the ultimate currency. In 1987, Stephen Hoffenberg hired Epstein as a consultant for Towers Financial Corporation, a debt collection company. Hoffenberg paid him a hefty $25,000 per month and set him up in swanky Manhattan offices. Together, they reinvented themselves as corporate raiders, using Towers Financial as their vehicle to take over major companies. Epstein made unsuccessful attempts to acquire Pan American World Airways in 1987 and Emory Air Freight Corp. in 1988. He and Hoffenberg traveled around on Hoffenberg's private jet, living large and playing hardball in the business world. But in 1993, the house of cards came tumbling down. Towers Financial collapsed as one of the largest Ponzi schemes in American history, defrauding investors of over $450 million. Hoffenberg later claimed that Epstein was deeply involved in orchestrating the fraud. However, Epstein had left the company by 1989 and was never charged with any crimes related to the scheme. Whether he got out clean or just got out lucky remains an open question. In 1988, Epstein founded J. Epstein and Company, which he later renamed Financial Trust Company. He strategically based the company in the U.S. Virgin Islands to take advantage of massive tax breaks. Epstein claimed his firm managed assets for clients with portfolios exceeding $1 billion, big money by any standard. His only publicly known billionaire client was Leslie Wexner, the chairman and CEO of L Brands and Victoria's Secret. Epstein became Wexner's financial advisor and was granted full power of attorney in 1991, meaning he could make financial decisions on Wexner's behalf without asking permission. He managed Wexner's vast wealth and high-profile projects, including the luxury yacht named Limitless. During this period, Epstein exploited his connection to Wexner, presenting himself as a global talent scout for Victoria's Secret. He used this fabricated role to manipulate and sexually exploit young women, abusing his position of power in the most disturbing ways. By relocating his business to the U.S. Virgin Islands, Epstein reduced his federal income taxes by a staggering 90%, paying an effective tax rate of only about 4%. Between 1999 and 2018, his companies reportedly generated over $800 million in revenue. Epstein maintained relationships with major financial institutions, including J.P. Morgan Chase and later Deutsche Bank. His financial network was vast and complicated, involving billions in wire transfers across multiple banks and offshore accounts. As they say, he wasn't just playing in the big leagues, he was calling the shots. The first fall from grace. In 2005, Palm Beach police launched an investigation after receiving allegations that Epstein had paid underage girls for sexual acts. What followed was a 13-month investigation that uncovered deeply disturbing evidence involving multiple minors, some as young as 14 years old. In July 2006, Epstein was arrested on state felony charges. A grand jury, however, returned only a single charge: felony solicitation of prostitution, a significant downgrade from what the evidence suggested. In 2008, Epstein pleaded guilty to state charges of felony solicitation and procuring a minor for prostitution. He was sentenced to just 18 months in prison and required to register as a sex offender. Behind the scenes, federal prosecutors led by Alexander Acosta negotiated a controversial non-prosecution agreement that granted Epstein immunity from federal charges. This deal was later dubbed a sweetheart deal, meaning he got off way too easy. A federal judge eventually ruled that prosecutors had violated victims' rights by keeping the agreement secret from them. An appeals court went even further, calling it a national disgrace. Epstein served only 13 months before being released in 2009. Shockingly, despite his conviction, he resumed much of his previous lifestyle: private jets, mansions, powerful connections. For countless observers, justice had clearly fallen through the cracks. On July 6, 2019, federal authorities arrested Epstein at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey on charges of sex trafficking minors between 2002 and 2005. This time, there would be no sweetheart deal. He was immediately detained at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City. When authorities searched his Manhattan townhouse, they discovered a treasure trove of disturbing evidence. Large quantities of sexually suggestive photographs, including images of underage girls, $70,000 in cash, diamonds, and a fraudulent Austrian passport. Epstein requested bail, offering an eye-popping $100 million and agreeing to house arrest. U.S. District Judge Richard M. Berman denied the request, citing serious concerns about flight risk and danger to the public. Epstein would remain behind bars. On July 23, 2019, Epstein was found injured in his cell under unclear circumstances. Then, on August 10, 2019, he was found dead at the Metropolitan Correctional Center. The Bureau of Prisons and U.S. Attorney General William Barr immediately called it an apparent suicide. A 2023 Department of Justice Inspector General report harshly criticized jail officials for negligence and serious misconduct, but ultimately concluded the death was indeed a suicide. In May 2025, the FBI announced plans to release surveillance footage from the night of his death, stating it showed Epstein alone in his cell, reaffirming the official ruling. Despite these official findings, conspiracy theories continue to run wild. Many people remain skeptical, believing there's more to the story than what's been revealed. As the American saying goes, his death left more questions than answers, and plenty of people still aren't buying the official version. On August 8, 2019, just 2 days before his death, Epstein signed his final will, creating a trust that held approximately $50 million in cash and property. Beneficiaries included his girlfriend Karina Shuliak, longtime associates, employees, and his brother Mark. As of February 2026, control of his estate remains in the hands of his executors, and legal battles over his fortune continue. From a quiet Brooklyn kid nicknamed Epi to a powerful financier at the center of one of the most controversial criminal cases in modern American history, Jeffrey Epstein's story reads like a page-turner, a real-life thriller packed with wealth, power, manipulation, and dark secrets. His rise and fall reveal uncomfortable truths about privilege, justice, and how money can create shadows where the truth becomes all.